what we'll do is we'll test out. We're on YouTube Live, just started. We'll test out just the screen sharing and get that ready, and then we'll start everything up. How you doing, Carrie? And Carrie, we're gonna have you talk at the beginning too. And if you can use maybe if you have some links or something like that, you can use the chat so that startups can see like the links to everything. I know
Perfect.
Things are.
Do you want me to share or you want me to wait?
Yeah, let's just share and just make sure it gets all ready first. It helps us for post-production stuff. And make sure you're all good.
Can you see it?
Yeah, that's great. That's good. And I'll start when you just do full screen when it starts.
Perfect. So let
That's
me know.
Great.
You want me to stop though?
We'll stop for now. You know what? It might be just good. Maybe we'll switch it up. We'll have you just welcome everybody, and then we're gonna have Stephen start off, and then we'll have Carrie do our little announcement.
Okay. Welcome everybody to Tech School.
I like that. It was really professional.
Thanks. I'm glad you approve.
It's good. And Eli's on. Good seeing Eli. So
right.
Stephen, you want?
Here's my handoff.
All right. Yeah, thanks guys for tuning in for another episode of Tech School. If you're tuning in either on Zoom or on YouTube, feel free to ask questions, and we'll try to get to as many as we can, during the live session of this show. In the meantime, if you are watching on YouTube, whether it's live or whether this is recorded, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. All the interactions we get with videos like this help push it out to more people. So that like or that comment, sharing your thoughts, asking a question that you left, could help push this video out to an entrepreneur who really needed to hear some tips from today's video. So if you have a chance, feel free to do so. But I will hand it off over to Carrie.
Hi, Stephen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Curling, and thank you, Joanna. I love seeing Joanna's face so much. It makes me so happy. I mean, you guys are great too, but she's just the star for me. So you're in for a treat for sure. My name is, and I am the founder of the Project, and we are a judgment-free, safe space for people to come and ask all of their most important questions on anti-racism and allyship. And so we have an event that's coming up, and Curling and Joanna and Stephen have been so gracious to let me share this with you. This is such an important topic, trying to figure out impact there. And so next week on the Inclusion First Project, we are going to be interviewing Shelly Zimmerman, and she is the former police chief of San Diego. We're going to be talking all about the intersection of anti-racism and policing, and it is going to be an incredibly dynamic conversation. I am completely free in the chat as well. And in addition to this incredible conversation we're going to have, Shelly has said, the police chief, former, has said that there's no question that is off the table. And she is just a huge wealth of knowledge. Now, to make this even more amazing, when high school, college, and have this forward. So we're going to get the most information, the most value, the most real and honest discussion that we've had yet. This will be our 14th session. We've got about that many hours of Q&A content recorded. We've gathered over 300 questions from allies. So this is a project that is super excited to invite our event next week. It's at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And again, it's free. So we hope that you bring your questions and you come and just join in this with us. So thank you. Thank you so much for letting me come and talk about this event.
Yeah, thanks, Carrie. Thanks for actually just putting on the event. It's giving everybody at least the opportunity to voice their opinion and learn, right? All
yes,
right.
Absolutely. Sorry, I muted myself.
No problem. Well, thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.
I see that link there. And you know what? I think I know you and Joanna are BFFs. So I know if you have some questions for Joanna on meetings and stuff like that, you could use the chat too. But Joanna, we'll let you have the floor.
Okay. I turned my camera off during that.
Sure.
Because I know we're both using the bandwidth.
Yeah.
Is
That's fine.
is the sound okay? And is it
Sound,
clear
yeah,
for
sounds
everybody?
good. Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
I'll talk a little slow in case there's any lagginess. But let me start sharing again. It's not sharing right now, right?
It's
Share
not.
screen. Share screen to share. Okay, it should be sharing now. And I didn't put a lot of slides together, just a few thoughts that I had. Let's jump in. So as I started thinking about, first of all, we're going to talk about mastering meetings, which sounds like we're having a meeting about a meeting, which always makes me laugh. But it is a worthwhile thing to put some thought into how you manage your meetings, into how you respect the people that are participating in meetings, and how you plan for them. Of course, there's always one-off and spontaneous, time-sensitive things, but in general, I see a lot of organizations that get really caught up in over allocating time to meetings, and so I just want to talk a little bit about how you get a hold of it, how you do it efficiently, and how you can think about it, especially if you're not used to being in an environment that is like more business focused or more corporate. Hopefully this will be helpful for you. So as I was thinking about meetings, I just started thinking generally about communicating and about communications. That sounded awkward, but all right. So there's a couple things you want to think about doing. How do you share information, and how do you collaborate? And there's tons of other topics, but this is sort of where I wanted to focus. So sharing information can often be done without a meeting. And this is how Focus allocates these different segments. So for the general public, we often just share information via social media or via an email list when the amount of people that you're communicating with sort of gets over, 10 to 12 people, it becomes a bit unruly, and you start looking for ways that you can make sure you're telling all the people that would be interested in what you have to say the information that they need. So we generally don't do that via meetings. And same thing with stakeholders. A lot of times the stakeholders can actually be too busy or hard to schedule time with. So sometimes you want to just push information to them rather than have a meeting with them. If they ask for a meeting, and it's a good use of your time. Sometimes it's not. Of course, have a meeting, but often you want to do it through either a limited email distribution list or through a reader deck, which is a deck that is designed for someone to have all the information as if they're reading a document versus a presentation where you wouldn't have a lot of content on the slides. And then I've seen a few startups do this thing that I really love, which is like a monthly update just to like their core group of supporters. So it'll be to their investors, to their family and friends, to their mentors, where they give you kind of the real talk about how things are going. It's a really good practice to get into. And I think if you're really in early stages, it helps you sort of gauge your progress month to month. It helps you keep a record of your accomplishments that you can look back at, especially if you're doing like a year in review and you want to sort of have some meatier content. It won't be fresh in your mind at the end of the year. And it's, if you just keep it short, like 1 page or less, a couple paragraphs, you can send it just as an email, or you can use a fancy template. But I love getting these updates from our founders. And I found that the folks that take the time to do this are often, very good communicators and often pretty successful because they're thoughtfully making sure that information gets to the right people. And I think we have some sample ones that we could share. Okay, so also you might want to share information with team members. That is good to do with one-on-one meetings with individual team members, and then to your whole team. sometimes you talk about critical stuff during team meetings, and just talking about it in the meeting isn't always enough. Sometimes you need to follow up with an email afterwards saying like, we agreed this during the meeting today, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And sometimes you're not talking about critical stuff that needs that kind of follow-up, but sometimes you kind of want to keep a trail of decisions that were made. And then also suppliers, and I won't talk too much about that, but sometimes you can manage your suppliers with emails, and sometimes they're a little unruly, and you need to manage them almost as if they're team members too. And sometimes having a periodic meeting with them can help with accountability. If they know that they're going to talk to you at a certain time every week, they're more likely to really make sure that they've made some progress since the previous week. Okay, and then collaborations. So you can do in-person meetings or virtual meetings. Obviously, people are not doing too many in-person meetings right now, but if you are, make sure that you take pictures. It'll be an unusual thing right now. We've always taken pictures of our meetings. It's really fun to have those photos to look back at who was participating at which point in time. And always take pictures of your whiteboard sessions, because you want to have a record of all the stuff that you worked on and not lose it. And then for virtual meetings, like the one that we're having right now, is kind of a meeting. It's good to use an agenda or slides, because it gives people something to focus on, and it helps people understand where they are in the meeting. Like, are we at the beginning of it? Are we almost done? What's the topic that we're working on right now? So that's kind of what I have to say about communicating. I wanted to talk a little bit about tools, and you may be familiar with these, but just in case you're not, Calendly is a tool where you can set your availability, and you can let other people just go to your Calendly link, and they pick what time they want to meet with you, and then it goes onto your calendar just as if you had put it there yourself. Zoom, obviously, we're using that right now. Teams is another tool that you can use that's pretty similar to Zoom. And then Doodle is a really useful tool if you're coordinating with people that have really different schedules, have a lot of competing priorities. If you're working with your 577 team, Doodle can be really useful, because everybody can put their availability on, and then you can find the slot that everybody has in common without sending 25 emails about it. And then make sure you protect your time. We were really excited about Calendly when we first set it up. We made our whole Calendly available. It fills up really fast with people who want to talk to you, and it leaves you with very little time to work on the things that you want to work on or that you need to work on. So what Curling does is sometimes he'll schedule a small block at the same time, like say 2 to 4 p.m. is always available. Or sometimes he'll say, like, you know what, Tuesday and Thursday afternoons are my times that I can do calls with people, and the rest of the time is just protected. It doesn't mean you can't get a meeting at that time. It just means that this is the time that's publicly available, that's published, that people can schedule without coordinating. Although a lot of people have figured out if they email me, they can get the not Calendly time spots. So people will definitely try to work around the system. And then make sure, like Jake said in his talk a couple weeks ago, to block time on your calendar for important things, especially if you have other people internally who can see your calendar. So if you have a team of people and you're all using Outlook, for example, people will look for a common time slot that'll work to schedule a meeting. So make sure you've set your working hours, you've blocked time to do things like have lunch, or if you know you need 3 hours in a row to watch a tutorial and people are likely to interrupt you, like block out an entire afternoon and allocate that time. If you have key deliverables, like if you're submitting an SBIR grant proposal, you know that's going to take a significant amount of time, block time every day for 2 weeks and really keep to it. And then make sure you give yourself extra blocks of time, because stuff will come up that you don't expect. So make sure that, so I always like if I know I have a meeting coming up, I have time blocked the day before to prep for the meeting, and I just allocate like 1 hour. So we have our team meetings on Fridays. On Thursdays, I have a time block that says prep for the Friday meeting. And then I also have a time blocked an hour before the meeting in case something happens on Thursday and I can't get it done. I at least have Friday morning to put something together quickly. So I have like my this is when you should do it time, and then I have my backup, like here's when you're going to do it if something happens and you couldn't get it done when you planned. And then I want to talk a little bit about keeping cadence. I learned this from curling, and I've discovered that it is really important. So having your team meetings at the same time every week really helps your team. Everybody knows, like, I mean, it's okay if you periodically change it. We used to always have team meetings on Mondays. Now we have them on Fridays. Some of our team members changed. We had some competing priorities on Mondays. So now we always have them on Fridays. But now everybody knows Fridays are meeting days. And after you do it for a few months, people just sort of, they know it, they expect it. You don't have to remind them every week. And it lets other people have a little more control over the rest of their schedules. Same thing with one-on-ones. Curling's really good about having one-on-ones with the team. I think with some of the team members, he meets with them even 2 or 3 times a week if they have a lot to talk about or if they're working on multiple things. But having it at the same time every week shows the team that they're a priority to you. So even though it might be tempting to move things around that suits you, just keep trying to think about what will it look like when you're a bigger organization. What will it look like when, when deliverables are more critical? Just keep thinking about sort of the culture that you're setting, how you want people to treat each other, and think about just being really respectful of people's time. And then don't cancel the meeting. Even if there's nothing critical going on, it's time well spent. Just getting the team together once a week and keeping that cadence so that everybody knows that the team meeting is important is really critical. Because if you cancel it, like, I don't have anything to talk about this week, then the other people are going to feel like, you know what, they cancel the meeting all the time. It's probably fine if I skip it. So just try to keep that sense, especially when you're a virtual company, of the team getting together once a week and feeling like an organization that's, working together on the same thing and sharing updates, or if you don't have significant updates to share or any news to share, just saying hi, like water cooler talk. And you can keep them short. If you don't have anything important to cover, keep it at 5 minutes and say, like, I don't really have anything today. Does anybody else have anything? Is everybody doing okay? Anything going on? And you'll get 5 or 10 minutes conversation, and then you can let everyone go. All right, goals for meetings. Keep them short. People don't like long meetings. A lot of people really hate meetings and they're just waiting for it to be over as soon as it starts. And some people don't mind, and some people use meetings as an excuse to not do work. So always try to keep them as short as possible. And keep the critical content at the beginning. We used to have, so we really value the people on our team. And to demonstrate that, Curling used to have us have everyone go around and give an update on how they're doing. And they would talk about what's going on in their personal lives, and not deeply personal, but, like, I just went on a vacation, or, yes, my mom is much better, thank you, and things like that. And then what's going on in their departments. And we would spend a long time doing this, but what would happen is sometimes people would talk for a really long time, and we'd run out of time in the meeting to actually cover the things that we were having that the meeting had a purpose for. And the people who were waiting to get to those items would get frustrated. So we swapped our meetings. So now at the beginning of the meeting, we cover any critical content, any critical information that we need to communicate. And then we save the individual updates for the end of the meeting. And that allows people who can't stay for the whole meeting to still get the critical information, or people who get frustrated when those conversations go on too long, they can drop off. And the people who are really hungry for that interaction and really want to participate in those conversations, they have more time, and they don't have to feel rushed because we're trying to get to another part of the meeting. And that's been working really well for us. And then don't do what I'm doing right now, which is doing all the talking. It's really boring to listen to one person talk for the whole thing. And so in a little bit, we're going to switch it up, and I'm not going to do all the talking. You guys are going to talk too. All right. So that is the end of that slide was supposed to get dropped out. What I wanted to do was to take Brianna's charter and her slide deck and build what might look like a weekly mini agenda for like meeting with your 577 team and anybody else that's sort of a key stakeholder. And Curling said he was going to check with you and make sure you're okay with it before I jump in. Did I get yes?
Yes, yeah.
Cool. And as I started to do it, I thought about some things that I've learned along the way, that if you are not like a super PowerPoint user, although I learned that Stephen had some superpowers that I don't have. So Stephen, feel free to jump in if you see me doing something inefficiently and you know a better way to do it. He's got all kinds of tricks up his sleeve as well. And I'll show you one of the ones that I learned from him this week that really saved me a tremendous amount of time. So I'm going to switch over here. Can you all see Brianna's slide now?
Yes.
All right, so one of the things that I wanted to show you was I took her little bee and I actually took her template and I created this other version of a presentation deck. Is you can go here under View, Slide Master, and you can do some things like I put this little bee on every page. So now I don't have to remember to put the bee on the page. So all your pages in your deck are now branded without having to put your company name and all that stuff. So you can see in here that he's right there. And then I want to show you this other thing that I did. View, Slide Master is here, where the background was dark and the little bee was dark. I put a little circle around him, and I wanted to show you this cool thing that I did. In case you don't know this and you get frustrated with PowerPoint, is you can select the bee and the little circle in the background, and you can do shape format, align, and you can align it to the center, and you can align it top and bottom. So now he's perfectly centered on the circle. So if you have like 3 things on your slide deck, I'll show you on here. Like here, I have these 3 things. And all I did to make them line up was I highlighted all of them and I did shape format, align, and I chose align top because I wanted them all lined up across the top. And you can, if you align them horizontally, you'll actually put them evenly spaced across the page, and it saves you a lot of just fussing around, just nudging things 1 centimeter here and there or 1 millimeter here and there. It'll actually do the work for you. Okay. So back over here, and then when you're done,
that's awesome, because it took me forever.
Yeah, it's really frustrating, isn't it? So, so as you work through it, you'll get more comfortable. So then, if you want to close out of this view, you go back to the Slide Master view, and you choose Close Master View, and you're back in your deck. So that's sort of like if you wanted to build slide templates that you want to use over and over again, you can put them in that template view. It's a little buggy. It can get a little frustrating to use sometimes, but and you can see right now, like I have the bee on here. He probably doesn't belong on here because you have him here, or her. Maybe it's a her bee. Is it a her bee? She is might not belong there. So anyway, you can tinker with that, and I won't spend more time on that right now. So the next thing I did was I went into your charter and I pulled out your 3 goals. And it's nice to have a slide like this, even if you don't talk about it every single meeting, to just remind everybody, like, this is what we're talking about. These are our goals. And then I found you kind of had this list of deliverables of the key components that you wanted to work on. And really what you could do is you could say each one of these is a slide. And then when you're done working on it, you don't have to keep having slides about it. So some of these things will be low-hanging fruit. You knock them out really quick as a team, and you can just put them in your list of accomplishments, or you can just drop them out and stop talking about them altogether. And then as they get done, you can do this this thing that I like to do, which is you can switch the bullets, and you can actually put like a check mark instead of a number. And if that messes up your numbering, you can control the numbering. So you right click on the number itself and choose numbering, and you choose this advanced menu, and it lets you choose, like, I want to start at number 4. So there's a few things you can do to keep control of your your list. Anyway, so I thought we can build each one of these into kind of a slide, and I'll show you what I would do with it. So about us and company mission, what I might do is build a little table, insert table of just like maybe 3 things. I don't know why. Oh no, that belongs there. And scoot it down. And I think under table design, you can choose like, that's pretty gray and pretty dark. So you can choose some different table formats. You can simplify it. And then you can there's all these like preset things. And none of them are actually very nice. So you can actually just say like, I don't want any shading, and I just only want regular borders, and I want a regular table. And you can say like item, oops, we want our text to be like a regular text. Item, details, and like status. And I wouldn't put any more than that. Like you can even have item and details could be one box, but you might have like 2 or 3 things under each thing. So here you might have like text for the page. Oh, here, let's do it this way, item responsible. And like responsible. And then in progress. And then you might have like page layout. Team member number 1, whoever your team member's name is, and you'd be like waiting for approval. And then you might have like final page coded. Number 2 might be responsible for that. Waiting for text and page layout. So you can kind of help you, this will help you sort of keep track of what all the detail things are that you need in order to accomplish the big goal. And this is an easy way to just during the meeting to say like, oh, hey, I forgot I was supposed to review that thing for you and I didn't, but I'm gonna do it. And even live during the meeting, now my mouse just went out. Where did you go? Is it gonna come back? No, let me switch over to this. Reminded Brianna on 10:15. Waiting for. So you can do things like that right during the meeting, and then the next time you have a meeting, you have this sort of this record of, it's like your notes and it's your meeting template at the same time, so you don't have to create 2 documents. It's a much more efficient way to do things, and you just use this as your like talking points for the meeting. And then what I like to do, especially if it's a pretty short list of things, is as they get completed, I actually just you can go in table, layout, or design. Here you go. And you can do shading, and you can say like, okay, that task is done. Now it's gray. So we don't pay attention to it anymore, but we remember that we did it. And then you can give a little update here that says like, maybe. It's harder to do it with no mouse. Come on. Completed on 10/7. So you have kind of your list of stuff. Okay, we're at 12:30.
We are. I know. One great thing about it, Joanna, we want to have like a little Q&A section.
Yeah.
Is that fine? And
Yes.
then you actually went really good. I think it was a good start. And I think using the charter from Brianna was great to actually kind of bring in the kind of vision to something practical. That's kind of like a weekly session. I would want to. I have some questions. Me and Stephen have some questions, but let's start off with maybe Brianna first, since you were doing it to her. Brian,
So
do you have to, yeah.
yeah. So would this be like creating this, meeting template? Like, would you use pretty much the same one each meeting and then just kind of like check things off as you go? So it's more satisfying watching like it go from 30 pages to 2 or.
Exactly. Or if 30 pages is overwhelming, pick like the top 5, right? And do those. And then when those are done, do the next, call it phase 2 or something like that. So it depends on how much content you have. You don't want it to be too overwhelming. And you can build all the slides. And what I do, I think you can, let me see if in the other slide deck, if I have it in here. I don't, but let me pull up this other deck. So this is from one of our team meetings recently. So you can see like we do weekly highlights. So I usually start the meeting with like, here's all the exciting stuff we did this week, right? And then we jump into talking about like, so I have these transition pages that tell us like what section we're in. So this now we went from, from weekly highlights to administrative stuff. And this is just a list of all the stuff that I know that we all need to talk about. And like this week, here's all the meetings that we have going on, and then like future events that we have coming up. And then this section would be more similar to the section we were just building for you, which is like your key initiatives. And you can see that we have it, a goal, a target date, a lead, and then a status. And then we do department updates where I have where I have these sort of subdivider pages. So there'll be one for the development team and one for the media team and, one for the executive team, although we don't always call it executive team because that sounds too snotty. So there, sales and strategy team. So you'll see some things like that. Anyway, that's kind of a real example. That was our deck from last week. What else do you guys have?
Yeah, I was going to refer to Brianna. Any other questions you have, Brianna, offhand?
No, I think that because right now we're kind of going into meetings just like, okay, so what's going on with everything? Like, give me an update. And it's just very like open. And then we end up getting like going off on these. Yeah, we go off on these tangents, and then I'm like asking them questions because I don't understand anything.
Yeah.
And then it's me re-explaining like what my goal is. And it's just like we get on like the same loop over and over again. So I love this structure. And I'm just really excited to just start using it every single week for our meetings, just so that way we can like kind of have like that checklist, you know. And I think also keeping it in the same kind of format gives them like a clear expectation for what the meeting is going to look like, rather than just having it be, a fireside chat kind of thing, like, oh, what's going on?
And there's this magical thing that happens when people see their name on the slide. They're like, oh, that's me. I was supposed to do something, right? And then like, even if you don't get a response from them during the meeting, it's been really funny over the years because I'll hear people talking about my meetings to each other, and they'll be like, Joanna's going to have my name on the slide. I got to get that done. So, and I was like, oh, I wasn't even doing it to sort of create that sense of like urgency and sort of ownership. But people really feel like if their name is on the slide and people are going to talk about it with their name next to it, it's really important.
Yeah, and I think that's going to also hold me accountable to make sure that each person is doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, yeah, no, thank you so much for using me as your example this week.
And make sure you put your deliverables in there too, and be humble about it. Like, you know what, I promised you I would review that thing and I didn't get to it, and I know that impacts when you can complete it, and I'm really sorry, and I'm going to make time today to do it, because that absolutely happens to me. I'll be running a meeting, I'll be like, oh man, I owed you something and I didn't do it, and I'm sorry, I'm going to do it right after the meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
What else we got, Carly?
Well, I know we have some couple people. I see Eli Pompolio, a couple people San Diego startup mock too. I do want to have some time to actually do the speed networking at the end. We're going to do at least one round, right? Stephen, do you have a question for Joanna?
Yeah, I got a few questions here.
Uh-oh. Oh, I did. You got it. We got to show your tip, your awesome tip from last week.
Okay, go for it.
Do you want to show them? I can stop sharing.
No, you can do it. Go for it.
So what I learned is a lot of times for our team slides, I get a picture from the internet somewhere like Startup San Diego. I'll go online and I'll search for like, I'll do a Google search right now. So I'll search for like Startup San Diego and I'll want their logo to add onto our slide. And so I'll go here. And sometimes I can get the images from here, but sometimes I just have to do like a Google image search and I get better images than I can get just from the website. But what I discovered is that when you right click and you try to copy this image and you paste it over, and you guys may know this, but I totally did not. It pastes like that and it's so annoying. But it turns out if you right click and you click this button, it actually will paste correctly. Look, I saw her face. She didn't know either. Right? Isn't that going to save you so much time?
Yeah, I was like stretching it out and it comes out all pixelated. And
yeah. Or it comes
wow.
out wrong. So anyway, so that was a really useful tip. All right, Stephen, I'll let you talk now.
Sure, yeah.
And we got, Stephen, we got one question from the cohort too after yours.
Okay. So question I had for you, Joanna, is so how do you avoid moving towards the death by meetings idea? What I mean is, like, what are some good ways to distinguish between meetings that really need to happen and meetings that may or may not be able to just be replaced with a quick email conversation or something on Slack or something that doesn't require as much time and effort.
So if it's not urgent, and that like we have a weekly team meeting, like specifically with our teams, if it's not urgent, I keep the deck for next week. I keep every deck, right? And so each week there's like this record of what we talked about. And as soon as one week is done, I start a new one. And if something comes up during the week that I know we all need to talk about, but it isn't urgent and doesn't deserve its own meeting, I just put it on that things we need to talk about, that admin page of things we need to talk about. And Curling will ping me with things throughout the week. That's one thing that we do to help. We have an interesting dynamic in focus because Curling is the CEO, but I often lead the meetings and pull the agendas together. And so one of the ways that we do that more efficiently is we have a meeting before the meeting, just the two of us, where I get the download from him on all the critical stuff. So it'll either be the day before or the meeting of that meeting. We usually just have a one-on-one meeting where we sync up and I make sure that I've covered all the critical stuff that he wants us to talk about during the meeting. And he doesn't have to spend his time actually building out the deck and doing some of the more administrative type tasks related to prepping for the meeting. And then we kind of hand off during the meeting so that we still spontaneously add things. So I guess saving things up is one of the ways that we do it. And then always just ask the question, like, can I get the answer by Slack or a quick phone call? And it doesn't have to be a scheduled meeting. But in the interest of time, I won't ramble on anymore about that.
Awesome. Thank you. That was a question that, actually came up a little bit off of Jake's talk.
Oh, yeah.
We had him, speak on productivity too. So I was just curious to hear your take on it.
Mm-hmm. And I don't have the chat window open. Should I open it? You said there's one from the cohort.
Yeah, there's one from the cohort from Sunny. Sunny, you can unmute yourself and you can ask that question. And this will be the last question before we start the speed.
Yeah.
That's a little person.
Yeah, I have two actually. My sister just had her baby. She's about a week old. So.
Oh, cute.
Yeah,
oh, wow, it's fun.
So cute. So if you hear her cry, I'm just waiting for the bottle to warm.
Oh.
No problem.
Yeah, my question was based off of the spreadsheet that you had from the last time that you did a presentation to this one, how does it compare to the two?
With a spreadsheet, I don't remember what was in the spreadsheet.
I think when you were doing the spreadsheet, you were doing the project management,
Oh,
Joanna.
we were trying
Remember?
to create a
yeah,
plan.
yeah. We were trying to create a plan, right?
So those things should be related. So for me, I always have the deck is sort of like the latest status and the discussion points around the things that are in the plan. So that the plan can help you build your slides. Like I built these slides from Brianna's charter, which she probably built from her project plan.
Yeah, that's a good way of kind of putting it. Yeah, so it's kind of interrelated, right?
Yeah, so you kind of brainstorming what is the stuff we want to do, and then you build your plan around like, okay, what's the most important stuff and that we're going to work on right now, and you build like your meeting template around, okay, what are we working on? What's the stuff I need an update on, and we need to make sure that we're on track for. And you can even put schedules slides in, timeline slides in, and other things, or like key milestone dates. You can put other slides in it. You don't have to be strict about restricting what's in here. Put what's useful for your team in. If you have whatever they're having trouble focusing on, that's what should be in your deck.
That's a great one. You know what, Stephen, we'll probably do one more question. You always do that one question for each speaker about one or two tips or something, that aspect. We have enough time for that.
Yeah. That's one of the questions we usually ask. Joanna, you've probably heard this a few times. Sorry if you can hear the dog in the background.
That's okay.
So imagine you were able to have a conversation with your younger self prior to having all the meeting management experience you have now, right? Knowledge and experience that you've kind of gathered throughout your time. What are one or two tips that you would give your younger self, given they don't have the experience that you have now?
Yeah. So a lot of times as the leader of an organization or as the manager of a particular project, you have most of the information and the other people on the team may not have all of the information. So it can be tempting to be efficient and share all the updates yourself since you already have all the information, but it's actually much better if you let everyone give their own update. And just go around, even if that takes a little extra time, and even if people need to sort of work up to it. I think that's a really useful activity. It keeps people more engaged in the meeting, and also you get like the hot off the press updates that, like, maybe if you haven't talked to somebody for 2 or 3 days, something might have developed in the time since you got the last update from them. So having the team members give their own updates, you can still create the slides for it and the framework for it to focus the discussion and help them understand what they're supposed to give updates on, but actually letting them do it in their own words is a really useful thing. That's one tip. I guess if you want 2 tips, my other tip would be if you're doing stand-up meetings, rotate through your team members who's leading the stand-up meeting. That's another thing where a lot of times people come to the meeting, they only listen to the part that pertains specifically to them. But if you rotate who's leading the meeting, and you can do it with your team meetings too, if you're brave and willing to invest the time in it. But in a stand-up meeting that are really short update meetings, having the different team members lead it really helps them tune in on what's happening across the whole project and not just only their portion of it.
That's great,
Awesome.
Joanna.
Yeah, thank you, Joanna.
It's interesting. I feel like your talk, Joanna, good for startup founders, right? But good even if you're in corporate and you're just managing or you're just starting at, like, this is just really great, like, skill set to have.
For sure.
So yeah, that's why I kind of went this dual part.
Useful either way.
Yeah. What we have been doing, and John, you know that from San Diego Startup Month, we've been doing the speed networking. So we're going to do this one round.
Great.
Stephen, if you can help set that up while I'm talking. We actually have the new people too. I know Eli's on. I bet Pompilio's on too. It might be great to new people will have to with come in the cohort or with Joanna. But we usually do it kind of like so randomly, Joanna. Maybe in the next iterations later on, we can maybe use our matching, but I think that's been working out good. I just want to just thank you for coming on, and I think this is one of the things I feel is most crucial for early stage, because you're creating a culture and you're creating a precedence, even if it's just 2 people. But as you get larger, it's even more important. So thank you for doing that.
And a lot of those things that I talked about today are things that you've been really intentional about setting the culture around in our organization. So I tried to tie in sort of all those things that you're really intentional about emphasizing. You know, everybody has a voice and everybody shares and everybody participates, and we keep the cadence.
Oh, that's great. Stephen, I know you're a master at creating all the different rooms.
He's probably got it ready.
Yeah, you want me to close out tech school and then we can start the rooms?
Yeah, let's do that.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone tuning in on Zoom and on YouTube Live, thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Joanna, for taking the time to speak today. You know, sharing your knowledge, sharing some stories, experience on meetings, and walking us through the real world example with Citizens Hive and all these fun tips. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So just a reminder for those of you who are, tuning in on YouTube Live and watching the recording, if you have a chance, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. All the interactions, the likes and the comments that we get on videos like this help push it out to more people. So that like that you gave or that comment sharing your thoughts, asking a question could push this video out to an entrepreneur who really needed to hear some of the tips today that Joanna shared about meetings, right? Or needed to be able to see someone walk through an example to help their organization out. So if you have a chance, feel free to do that. Easy way to give back to the community. And but as always, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Tech School.
All right. And everyone can stay on if they want to just do the one round of speed networking, and